Hey, we're back with part two of, well, I guess it's kind of a different tutorial, but it's building upon the first tutorial, but it's basically a part two of our distance-based inflation, but we're not going to do any inflation because we already did that in the last tutorial. This one is going to be all about retiming redshift, animated redshift proxies. So what I'm going to do is I have this animated vellum thing, and I want to scatter. I want to create a bunch of little animated flowers that sort of bloom, and they're going to be very basic. I'll show you guys how to make them. They're just because we're going to see them from far away. There's going to be like a billion of them, so they don't need to be. They don't need to have like a vellum sim. They don't need to be like a hero flower. These are just tiny little background flowers. So I want to make a few little different flowers that are animated, and then I want to scatter them across the surface of this vellum sim that we have, and have them continuously bloom and unbloom based on how inflated or deflated the vellum sim is. But the problem is when you have like a million of these things or like hundreds of thousands of animated things, you can't just use instances. You can't use an alembic and scatter them as instances. It works a lot better to use redshift proxies. So, and there's just not a lot of information out there about how to make a redshift proxy and then retime it based on a fall off. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. It's not that hard. So the first thing we're going to want to do is let's make a couple of flowers. So we're going to be using simple tree for this. And I'm going to put down a geo and call this flower. And I'll make it black because it's going to be a model that I'm going to then use later. Okay. And let's put down a trunk maker, STT trunk maker. Okay, can zoom out a bit. Great. So we got our trunk maker. Cool. And then let's put down a branch maker. And that gives us some branches. And the default for this is you kind of use this for making trees and plants, but I'm going to kind of bend it to my will a little bit and make it into a little flower making machine. So we'll call these petals. Okay. So let's change the length between nodes to 0.313. And then the trunk maker, let's see, do I need to change anything on here? Let's maybe make the length like 1.33. Doesn't need to be that tall. Something like this. And then, I don't know, did I change anything else on that? Let's give it a little bit of noise. So let's come here, go to noise, and let's give it, yeah, fast noise. Yeah, just the defaults are fine. You can just kind of give the trunk a little, so it's not completely straight up. Okay, now we'll come back to the petals. And let's see, let's adjust the start and end here. So from parent root here, let's go 0.415. These are just numbers that I found worked for something I was making. I mean, I made like 100 flowers for like this for a project recently, and just, you know, change the numbers, do whatever you want to make a flower. It's not really special. These are just things I'm made up. So, okay, let's go 0.074, something like that. Maybe it's really short. And maybe we can turn off we don't need to visualize the width. We can just go like this so we can see that. Okay, cool. And then the width here, let's do, no scaling by attribute. We want to do the width profile. Where is it at? Length and width. What am I looking at here? Branch length, right? Fall off width. Let's go 6.6. You can't see it. If we visualize the width, you can see it. It looks like crap, but this is not what we're going to do. But I'll show you what I'm doing here in a second. And then the width profile, we want to make it something like this. Okay. And I'll show you how to change that and what that's for in a second. Okay. And then the rotations, let's come in here and let's do pitch angle. Let's go 51.7. So that changes kind of the pitch of these guys here. You can see what that's doing. 51 is fine. Let's randomize it a little bit. Let's do like, I don't know, 132. Okay. And then the target up vector, y-axis is fine. Let's do like 0.517. We can just get a little bit more randomness. 51, something like that. And then maybe some local rotation. I don't know, 62, 32. I'm just kind of plugging in some values here. So these are going to be like leaves, actually. So I guess this should be called leaves because these aren't going to be petals. Okay. And then we can go to the modifiers and let's put a little bit of bend in here. So let's do, I don't know, 26, something like that. Oh no, not 236, 26. Okay. And I think that's probably good. Okay. So what we want to do is let's make a mesh out of this so we can kind of see what we're doing. So we have these, it automatically gives these things names. We've got the branch or leaves and trunk maker. It basically just names it what you've named it here. So let's put down a split. And I will split off the trunk maker 1. Okay, and let's just put a null here and a null here. Okay, so now we have the trunk and the leaves. All right, and then I want to attribute delete. I'd like to delete the color because it gives it this brown color. I don't want that. Just make it white. Yeah. Okay. And then let's put down a sweep. And let's start with the trunk. Sweep the trunk. And let's see. Wait, what happened? Where's my... Oh, yeah. So instead of doing second input cross sections, let's do round tube. And then radius 0.1. But basically, this respects the width that you've given it before. So if we change the radius to 1, it's the width of this here. So we can actually change the width here as well. That's pretty cool, right? So, but this is going to be like a skinny little flower. So let's make it, I don't know, we can change the radius to something like this. And then construction, let's do target up vector z-axis. I don't know why I did that in my previous file, but I did. And then let's also compute UVs. So if you get up really close, it's got UVs on it. Great. Okay. And then for the other one, we're going to do something similar. Let's put down the sweep. And then instead of doing a tube like this, we're just going to do a ribbon. There you go. And then if we merge them, it's starting to look like a plant with some leaves on it. And we can, make the width a little bigger, something like that. And same thing, we want the construction as z-axis is fine. But check it out. You can change the profile of these leaves back here under length and width. You can change this. And it respects that. Let me get up close so you can see. So you can move these around and make kind of like a profile of your leaf shape with the width there. So that seems decent. Let me make them a little longer. Maybe. Yeah, that seems fine. And you can, of course, you can move this around. You can rotate these like this. You can rotate them on the local axis a little. You can rotate it on the y-axis. You've got, pretty good control over all this stuff. So, okay, great. So we've got our base there, but now what do we do about the top? Okay. Well, first let's get this thing animated, and then we'll worry about the top. So what I want to do is let's do a simple grow like this, and that requires the curves. And then we'll do a simple bone deform, and we're just going to plug in. So let's see, what do we need? We need the tree mesh output if you hover over these. So the tree mesh output would be this meshed thing we just made. We need the leaves input. We don't have any leaves. That would be for like if we're using simple tree leaves. We're just considering this all one mesh. We need the deformed curves. So yellow to yellow and white to white. Okay. And then if we put a null down here, this would be the tree mesh output. Let's see what that does. So what I can do with this simple grow is just slide it down. Now I've got a growing mesh. And I, of course, can, animate this in a, let's see, growth. Let's change this a little bit. Let's do the growth blending 0.372. Let's do, let's give it a little bit of randomness here. So blended 0.066 seems good. Unfolding amount, let's give it a little bit less. So like 28. So when let's see. I actually like it to be more. Maybe 360 is fine. I actually like that. So the growth, the unfolding amount, the higher this number, the more it's going to roll up. The lower this number, the less curls it's going to do. I actually kind of like having more. And then the growth is like how big those curls are. So something like that's kind of nice. Okay, cool. And then maybe the delay effects. Let's give it, you can do this. It's basically like a smoothing here. So if I animate this now, so I'll animate it from 0 to, I'll go to like 120 frames, or maybe I'll go to like 240 and go 1 and put that there. And then let's hit play. See what that's doing. So that's pretty smooth. Maybe that's like way too many frames. Let's go like 0 to 48, and we'll make this linear. Let's try that. There we go. So it kind of has this little wavy overshoot that you see. It kind of wiggles a little bit, so it's not just completely flat. And of course, you can see this, this is kind of janky here. There's not very many points, so we can't, with the simple grow or on the trunk maker here, we can come up here and do segments. We can give it a lot more segments. Of course, we need to reset the simulation, because when you use that little growth or the delay effects, it's kind of a simulation, so you got to reset it. There we go. And maybe I don't want as many curls, so let's simple grow. Let's go to unfolding, and let's do like 100. Let's try that. Better. Cool. Okay, so we've got that. Excellent. What do we do about making something at the top that actually, like a flower petals and stuff? Well, if you've seen any of my other tutorials, it's fairly similar, but we're going to do sort of like the abbreviated version. So let's do, okay, so let's put down a curve or curve Bezier like this. And we'll go into our, let's turn this grid on. Let's go into our frontal view here. And let's just make a petal. So if we just click enter and start from 0, and this can just be, just make it look fine. It doesn't need to be amazing. So remember, we're going to scatter a lot of these things, so they don't have to be like perfect. This just kind of needs to be whatever. Okay, and then hit F on the keyboard. Let's highlight all of these, and then let's click this button here, and then we can grab these little guys and we can round off the corners. Cool. All right. And then let's resample it. So we can just give it a few more samples, something like that. We'll do a remesh. So remesh. Do like 0.15, something like that. Let's hit Shift W so you can actually see what that's doing. So basically, we're just kind of giving it some more geometry to work with. Okay, and then we'll do a UV project here to give it some UVs. Great. And then let's do a match size. We'll justify Y minimum to minimum. And offset the X a bit so that the little point lines up with the 0. Scale to fit. Yeah, I want to stay within 1 and 1. So let's keep that like right on the 0, something like that. Okay, cool. So this, it looks like shit, but it's okay. It doesn't need to be amazing. This isn't a hero flower. So then let's come out of here, like this, and let's put a bend down and hit Enter or G on the keyboard. And let's move this 90 degrees this way, and then again 90 degrees this way. And I want to bend it like this, but I'm going to go deform in both directions. And then let's move this in a little bit so that it's kind of just like that. Okay. And let's do another bend here. And we'll do G on the keyboard, something like this. And we'll just give it a little bit of a curve like that. Okay. And then basically what I want to do is I want to animate this. So we'll start, let's go to frame like, I don't know, 48. And we'll hit on this one here. We'll keyframe the bend where it's at. And then here we will make it bend even more. Something like this, so that it basically just sort of animates out. Okay, and we'll do the same with this one at frame 48. Maybe let's give it, yeah, like this would be fine. And then let's come back into 1 and give it like this. Okay, and then lastly, let's, I like to make these both green so that I know that they're animated. And let's put a transform. Nope, not a trace. Transform. Okay. And let's basically at frame, so frame 48 is when everything stops. Let's come to frame 48 and we will put a uniform scale keyframe, and then we'll just scale it down a little bit like that. So now we have this very basic animation. Okay, let's put down, God, not that. Let's put down a null, and we'll call it in pedal. All right, then we're going to use a mops instancer like this. And what we want to do is change the distribution to radial like that. And let's bring the uniform scale in so that the points are, so like 0.07, something like that. And then we're going to need to rotate these on their individual axes. So let's go to instancing global transform. And which one of these we need to do? Like that? That seems generally right. Let's kind of, maybe not that one. Let's do something like that. So it's basic. It's, you know, not a very amazing, like if you were to look at this from really close, it looks like a really shitty version of a flower, but we're going to be like really far away. You're not even really going to be able to know. So let's leave it like that. And what do we have? Okay. Flower blooming, super basic. Cool. Okay. Okay, maybe I don't want that many petals, you know, so I can come here under the instancing and number of points. I can make it like 5, something like that. That seems a little better, so I can actually kind of see them. Great. So how do I get this onto this? So what we'll do is first let's unpack this. So we have geo. All right. And then basically I want to do a copy to points, but I only want to copy it to the tip, right? So how do I do that? I don't want to do it on this geometry. I want to do it on this yellow dot. So the yellow dot, if I pull this out, this is our animated curve. Okay, and it's got points on it. And I want to copy it to that point. But how do I select that point procedurally? I don't want to have to like select it. So what I can do is a group expression, and they have this one, what's it called? You can just click here and you would go to top points there and click primitives. So I wouldn't have known how to do that code, but luckily they have really nice little presets here for you. And let's see, top points. Oh yeah, you need to click this to make some little buttons for yourself, and then hit spread, and you can see what it's doing. Basically selecting from the top. I want that. No, that's not going to work, is it? Because it is the bounding box is changing. So, you know, maybe it is better to just select it. So let's just grab this, hit S on the keyboard, click this guy, and then type group. And then we'll call this tip. And that should not change. There we go. Okay. So we don't need that. I'm sure there's a great way to do it procedurally, but fuck it. This is easy. Okay. So let's go attribute delete. I don't want the color on this. Point attribute CD. Let's get rid of that. I'm not sure if that's going to do anything, but okay. And then let's do a copy to points. So the geometry I want to copy is the flower thing we made, and the points are this. But I don't want to copy it to all of them. I want to do my target points tip. There. Okay, now if I compare these two, if I highlight them both and merge them, you see that not only is this thing way too big, but it is facing the wrong direction. So let's put down a transform. Let's right here, and let's transform it 90 degrees. Which way do I need to go? Like that. And then let's also just scale it down. So now, there. But you can see it's blooming at the same time as it's unrolling. I want it to start blooming like here. So maybe I'll put down a time shift here and just go $frame, and then I'll go -48. So now it should start blooming here. Maybe I'll even do -43. Let's try that. Maybe -35. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Okay, so cool. We've got our flower. That's super basic, right? And now, let's cache this. So let's do a file cache. Why is it put there? Give it to me here. And we'll call this flower 01. Okay, and how many frames is it? It's like to here, 81 frames. So right click, delete channels, 81 frames. Save the disk. All right. Great. Now we have that. Before we move on, I'm going to make one more variant here. It's going to be much, much easier. We're not even going to make a flower. It's just going to be like tall grass. So let me show you how to do that. So essentially, we can just take all of this and copy it, and then come over here and paste it. Okay, and we'll just modify some stuff. So for the trunk, let's make it like give it a little bit more height. Let's go trunk. Where are we at? Length, let's go 3. And then for the leaves, we'll do branch length. Where are we at here? So branch generation, let's do by edge length, yeah, 0.128. That should give me a few more of them. And then I'm going to want to come down to this from parent root and move this down so that they all kind of slide down, something like that. And okay, great. And then what else do I do? Branch length, let's make them, yeah, 0.119 is fine. The width, let's go, yeah, 6 is fine. Parent bias. Let's bring this down. And then let's make this more leaf-like. Let's have like a little stem that kind of sticks out. And I don't want this to go to 0. I want there to be like a little bit there. And then something like that. Okay, that should be fine. And then let's check this. Why don't we keep the flag here? So now it's kind of like this grassy thing you would find in like a marshland. That's kind of cool. Now, why is my Why is this one flat? This should not be flat. Oh, because this is called Leafs 1. So I have to split on Trunk Maker 2. So I have to change the name to this. There. There we go. And I think I want my Trunk Maker, I want the width to be a lot skinnier, like that. So it's like this reed, basically. And then I may want to come into the leaves and go to the rotations. And let's see, let's do like 26, something like that. Give it a little bit of roll. There we go. And I don't know, 30. So change some values here. And then, I don't know, 27 and 41. I'm just making shit up, by the way. This is not anything special. Okay. And then the modifiers, that's, I don't know, get a little bit of randomness, maybe something like that. That's kind of cool. You can bend the leaves. Let's go local. Give each one of them their own little bend here. That's kind of cool. Make it kind of curly. I don't know. Okay, but that's cool. And then basically we just come back to this. Null. And why is that so gnarly? Oh, because I got to reset it. There you go. And I think I want more on the tip too, actually. So let's come back up here and let's do this branch generation from parent tip. Let's bring this all the way to 1. There we go. So now this should happen. There we go. Pretty cool. And maybe I want my simple grow. Let's actually hit this. It is linear. Okay, cool. So, and how many frames does that take? Like 80. Okay, so let's put down a file cache. Not here. We'll call this read. And then, okay, so we've got our read. And then if I come over here, we've got our flower. And I think maybe I want my read to be a little shorter because otherwise I'll need a lot more flowers to, or you're not going to be able to see the flowers beneath them. So let's take this. Let's go transform. And let's just bring this down. So it's just a little taller. Okay, cool. So we've got these animated things. Now we need to turn them into Redshift proxies. So a Redshift proxy, though, you need to have if you want to texture these, you need to put a texture on them first. So let's put down materials here. And we already made our material from the last one. I want my shiny material that I made on the last one to be the same as this. So let's just go to material, put shiny on there, copy this, come over here, do the same thing. All right. And something I noticed with Redshift, Redshift proxies, is when I'm retiming them, the way that I want to do this, it was very difficult to have it be like, it doesn't really respect sub-steps or some subframe steps. So let's say if I had animated this, this is like 80 frames, and then later on I want to slow this animation down to be like 200 frames long. It's going to be like really steppy, like bup, 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 like stop motion animation. Now I'm sure there's a way to get it to respect subframes, but I didn't really find an easy way to do it. So the best thing I found to do is just kind of make like your own sub thing. So you would just do, let's just put down a retime here and like this. And this, we know that this is 80 frames long, and I want to make the speed like a quarter of the speed, 0.25. So now it goes like this to like 240, something like that. And I'll do the same on this. Okay. So great. How do you make an RS proxy? So Redshift proxy output is what you want. And we're going to name this read 01. Great. And this now lasts for 240 frames. So let's go frame range, delete channels. Let's go 240. Great. And then the archive is where you want it, is where you put the file path. So hip, let's put it in an ABC file. Let's do $OS so that it makes a separate file for this name here. And then I want to change this to $OS as well. So if you don't know $OS, just it'll make the name this, whatever you put there. Okay. And then let's just hit render to disk, and it'll take a little bit. It doesn't usually take that long, but it's taking a second. Okay, it took about 25 seconds. Great. Okay, and then let's just come back over here, do the same for this, read to, and we'll call this flower 01 and render to disk. There we go, moving nice and quick. Okay, great. We've got our animated things. We can turn that off for now. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to come back to our vellum sim here, and we need to set up some points to scatter on this thing, right? So our loop, I believe, starts at, I think it goes from, when is it, 120 to, like, 120. To something like that. That's like 120 to 590. I can't remember what it was, but basically you want to take a time shift and put that down here, and let's just delete the channel, and then let's put down a scatter, not that, scatter like this, and we can relax the iterations. We can give it a bunch more like that, and then we want to do is output attributes. We want the primnum and primuvw attribute. And then we'll do a attribute interpolate and plug this one into this and this one into that. And then when you hit here, they should all just stick without moving. Let's see. Oops, not. Let's do attrib delete so we can actually see what I'm doing here. Let's delete this color attribute. Or why? Why is it doing that? Doesn't seem like it's working. Very interesting. Because my time shift, I didn't actually delete the frame. So you have to actually you got to make sure that this is deleted. So now it's just holding on a frame. Okay, that's why it wasn't working. So now when I come here, these should stick without jittering. Excellent. Okay. Cool. And we still have our attributes. I think I can leave color on here. But what I'm going to want to use is mask. So the mask attribute that we set up earlier, that was basically in the other tutorial, which was representative of how close these are to one another, I can use that as an attribute to make these grow or ungrow, essentially. Or I could use any attribute, really, but I want to use this one. I think that's what it was from the last one. Yep. Okay, so basically in the areas that are red, I want these to be, my flowers and grass to be fully bloomed. And in the areas that it's white, I don't want them to be bloomed at all. So as this sort of moves around and swims through the points, things are going to grow or ungrow accordingly. So let's find a nice frame. Let's basically just start here, I guess. And let me just make a null. We'll call this out PTS. We will copy it. We can come back up here. We can put the flag here. And let's grab, yeah, the lump-sim's fine. Let's put down a geo. We'll call this instanced flowers. And we'll do object merge. Plug that in there. Okay. And I'm going to need a few things. So I need a few things. Let's give it let's make sure that I have an ID attribute on this, which I don't. So we can just give it an enumerate. We will need that. And change this to points and just change this to ID. And it will give everything an ID value. See, right there. Cool. All right. We also need to give it p-scale because it doesn't have any scale right now. So we're going to put down a attrib randomize. We'll change this to p-scale. And let's, it only needs to be one dimensional. And of course, under options, you want to click the seed attribute and make sure it's seeding to ID. So that's why we put down this enumerate. If we don't do that, if it doesn't have an ID and it's not using that as a seed attribute, basically every time these points move, the seed's going to change. So all your flowers are going to like jitter. So that's how you get rid of that. Okay. But for the scale here, let's do a custom ramp. I like doing that one. And we'll do a value. We'll do some really small values. Let's do like 0.02 for this one. And then for the middle one, we'll do 0.04. We'll do double that. And we'll move the position to like 0.97. And then this one, we're only going to have a few very large ones. And we'll make that like 0.08, something like that. Okay. And yeah, I think that's probably good for now. And we can visualize that here with these lit spheres. You can see what that's doing. And of course, if you want to affect the global scale of all of them, you can do that here. But yeah, that seems fine for now. We can always adjust this once we actually see our flowers. Great. All right, let's put down an attrib delete. And actually, I don't think I need an attribute delete, so that's fine. So let's put down a copy to points. Nope. Copy to points. My fingers get too excited all the time, and they type the wrong thing. Okay. And what we want to copy to these points is our Redshift proxies. But how do we bring those in? Well, we have this Redshift packed proxy is what we want. And we can navigate to where we put that. So it would be ABC, and that's read 01. Oops. One thing you want to make sure you do is show sequences as one entry, and that will collapse it all and consider it all one animated entry. If you don't do that, you're just going to bring in the first frame. Okay, and let's hide other objects. So now it gives you, the nice thing is it gives you this actual visual representation of what you have. And you can change the display mode to bounding box or points or central point or none. But for now, I want the mesh. And we have to remember this is 240 frames, and then there's nothing. So it's going to, if you go past that, it doesn't like that. So we have to clamp it with a time shift. And we just hit clamp to both, delete this channel, and go 240. So now, when the animation's done, it just hangs out. Okay, cool. And let's copy that. Let's see what that does. Great. So it's working. I want to get rid of this color. So maybe an attrib delete. Yeah. But why are these black? That's weird. Maybe it doesn't have normals. Interesting. So these are all, it's working. It's doing what I want, but they're black and they're all facing the wrong direction, which is not really what I want, I think. So something I'm going to have to do is I'll have to add in some, I think probably some normals, or if I don't have them, and then some sort of weight, some sort of randomness here. So if we come back over to our Vellum sim and we check here, we do not have any normals. So let's put down normals here and here. And that should, now if we click on this, it should transfer the normals. So before we did that, we didn't have any normals. Well, I guess it figures it out a little bit, but just to be safe, let's do that. So now we have normals. These should all be facing in these directions here. Cool. We can turn that off. Back up, go to instance flowers. Turn that on. Now, I'm still not sure why they're black. That's very strange. So let me try just deleting a bunch of attributes. Let's see. Okay, so I put down an attribute delete and I typed in N, V, P scale, and ID. And then I clicked this little checkbox that says delete non-selected. So it's deleting all of the other attributes except for these ones here that I want to keep. Okay, and then under copy to points, I'm putting pack and instance. That helped get rid of the color issue thing. So now the cool thing is I have tons of animated instances, and this plays in basically real time. I can scrub through here, but you can see they're all blooming at the same time. So they're starting from 0, and then they all bloom to the fully bloomed, right? So you can see this is the fully bloomed state. This is how big they're going to be. And I think I want to add some randomness here. So maybe let's do an attrib randomize. And let's put down like instead of CD, let's do orient, which is a 4-dimensional thing. And I don't know why it turns black with that. Very strange. Let's put on pack and instance again so I can see it. And then in orient, instead of being fully random, let's do like inside sphere and cone angle. So this would be like 180, I don't know, direction attribute N. So, okay, so this is before, after. I don't know. Just kind of messing around. Just give it a little bit of randomness. And then maybe, so what does N look like here? Not at all. It's not respecting N. Well, instead of doing that, let's do it a different way. Let's get rid of this orient because I want these to generally be pointing in the direction that they are now, generally in the oriented sort of perpendicular to the mesh that it's being stuck to. So basically according to its normals. But I want to give it a little bit more randomness too. So we can put down a mops randomize. We put that after this. And we'll do randomize orientation. And let's just change these all to 0. And then let's just do like a little bit here, a little bit there, just a little tiny bit. I think that's good. Okay. And I think the other thing is, let's see. Let's turn on show all objects, and let's come back up. Why is my vellum sim? Oh, I need to make sure I enable that. So I think that I want these to be facing, they should be facing perpendicular to these, right? So maybe I need to turn this, so transform, yeah, I probably need to turn these 90 degrees in some direction. Not that one. Not that. They usually need to be facing the Z direction, like that. I think that's correct, right? For some reason, that looks even less correct. So maybe I'll just say, fuck it, and kind of play with it till it looks right. So I thought that that looked pretty good. Maybe. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of these, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay. Well, for now, let's just leave it like that. Okay. We can come back. But this is a tutorial about retiming these, right? So right now, these are all being retimed at the same time. So what I want to do is, in a previous tutorial, I showed you how to retime instance things using a mops set sequence time, and but what I didn't really realize, I thought that with this one, so normally when you're retiming stuff using mops, you would use a mop trigger fall off and a mop set sequence time. And basically what this does is you have like a pre-animated sequence, and then when a fall off hits a certain threshold, it just triggers the animation, and the animation goes on its own. But it can't untrigger the animation. It doesn't make it grow back downwards. So I want this to have direct control. So basically wherever this mesh is white, I want these to be fully bloomed, and wherever it is black, I want them to be unbloomed. And I want that as this animated fall off moves through this mesh, I want that to change. Okay, so you don't actually need the mops trigger fall off for that. You can just do mops set sequence time. And the way that you can do that is mops set sequence time. I'll come here, and the attribute, we'll just change this to attribute, and we'll change it to mask. And then we'll do set cycling mode, clamp, override frame range. And then we'll go 1 to 240, which is our because we know that this is 240 frames long, and so is the other one. Okay. And then what I need to do is mask. So where this mask is white or 1, I want my animation to be at frame 240. And where this mask is black or 0, I want this to be at frame 1. So we're going to need to remap that. So we'll do a mops remap fall off. And the fall off we want to remap is not mops, but mask. And we want to keep it as mask. And basically all we need to do is change the output minimum max. The output min or the max could be 240, and the output min is 0. So basically now wherever this is 1, it has now become 240, and wherever it is 0, it is now 0. And that's what this mop set sequence time means. Now, if we play through this, nothing happens, right? They're all the same. It doesn't seem like anything's working. And that's because using Redshift proxies with mops in this way, it doesn't appear in your viewport. It doesn't work. You actually have to open up the render view. So let's do that. Let's look through our camera here. And I'm going to, just for the sake of this, I'm going to turn or unflag the mop set sequence time so that we have a original, and I'm going to take a screenshot of it so we can compare it. So let's just fire this up. Oh, and this cannot be instance, otherwise you won't see them. There we go. Let's refresh this. Weird. Interesting. Okay. So let's just giving you some weird behavior there. Sorry. Let's refresh this. Okay. So don't worry about the lighting and all that right now. I know it looks like garbage. We'll fix that later. So right now, this is the base. Let's take a screenshot, and then let's do this, and then refresh it. And these should change. And they did. And where the hell did they go? I don't know. Ah, I know where they went. I'm an idiot. So if I hover over this copy to points, you can see that mask is not coming through because in this attribute delete here, I did not include mask as one of the ones I want to keep. Ian, you fool. So that should fix it. There we go. Okay, that's doing something. So this was the before. This is the after. So now you can see that if I go back into my camera, yeah, it's working. Okay, we just need a lot more instances. So let's try that. Let's go back to, let's go back up. Let's go to Vellum Sim. Let's scatter. And instead of doing that many, let's do like 1 or 2 million. Let's do 2 million. And the max point limit. Okay, and let's see what that looks like. And I'm noticing a little slowdown in my computer, and you can see in my viewport here that there's like boxes back here and flowers up here because there's a lot of them. So, okay, you can see it's working there. I'm getting something there. These might be too small to see too. And something I can also do, like if I don't want to use this, let me actually just go to this packed proxy and just click none. So that'll make it so that it'll move a lot faster. Now it's like back to real time. So maybe I don't want to use this mask attribute. Maybe I could use something else. So let's, I don't know, let's measure the area or something. Because this mask attribute actually, now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't seem to be doing really exactly what I want to do. It's kind of, it's working, I guess, I suppose. Maybe it is doing what I want. So mask, okay, maybe I need to do it the opposite. Maybe red is 1 and white is 0. So maybe I just need to invert it, actually. Because I think I want where these things are really close to each other to not really have much flowers. And then where they're farther away, I want there to be a lot of flowers. So let's just invert that, basically. So we'll come up here. We'll go, turn this on. Let's do mops root fall off. Let's just invert this. So now that should, I think, where's my window here? That should take care of it. Let's see. Yes, much better. Way cooler. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, but how do we add in that other flower? We did make 2 flowers. Let's or 2 plants. How do we add in variants? Well, you would just do it the same way that you would with copies, right? So we can just do. Let's just copy this here. We'll merge these 2. Put it in here, like that. And why is it thinking so hard? Okay, let's over this one here. Let's just click on it. Let's go hide other objects for now. And let's display mode mesh. Let's, instead of our read 01, let's do, is it flower 01? Yeah. This is the one. That is the one. Okay. And same thing, we need to clamp it. Cool. All right. And then what we can do is put down an enumerate here, and we will enumerate over points, and we'll do attribute variant like that. So if we hover over this, we should now have a variant attribute here, because these come in as points, right? So if I hover over it, it's just 1 point. That's why we're doing enumerate over point. And then we need to set up an attribute here that will randomize the variant. So we could just do that with an attribute adjust integer attribute. There's a million ways to do it. You could do attribute randomize or whatever, attribute adjust integer. That's an easy way for me. It's already set up for variants, which is great. And we have 2 variants. So computer language, that's 1. So a 0 counts as 1, and then 1 counts as 2. Very stupid. I don't know why it does that. I fucking hate that, but whatever. Okay, cool. So now under the copy the points, if we hit piece attribute name and change it to variant, it should just randomize through these. And I think with this, we want to make sure that, no, I think that's fine. I think it's fine. Okay, cool. Let's fire this back up again. Let's take a picture, and then let's see what we can compare the 2. So that seems like, what is this, frame 119? Oh, let's go back to frame 119. Just so we have the exact frame to compare it to. Oh, you know what? I didn't actually randomize it. It's still at constant. So I got to change this to random under the attribute variant. Now that should work. There we go. Okay, cool. So now you can see we've got some flowers. We've got some of these little thingies here. That's looking cool. I don't like how these are all sort of facing the wrong direction. So maybe I was right. Maybe I need to transform these to be more, I think they need to be perpendicular. So let's freeze this here. And I think they need to give it 90 in this direction here. Let's see what that looks like. That's better. Cool. And then I can, of course, randomize this with here a little bit more if I want to. But I think I'm going to need either a lot more instances, or they need to be larger or something like that. So let's maybe give it some more. Let's see. I'm trying to think about how many I had. How many points do I have? 1 million. Yeah, let's give it 2 million. Let's give it double that. So go back up to the scatter. Oh, because I didn't increase the point count here, and then point limit. So let's see what that looks like. Let's look at it a little better. Okay, cool. Let's make, so something else I can do. This will help you a lot, because I want to have like a lot of instances. But what's happening is right now it's instancing on all over this whole thing. I don't need points where I don't see them. I need them exactly where I see them. So let's delete some. Let's like get rid of some of this stuff. So let's put down a delete here. Or sorry, group create. And we're going to call this group Del. And I have a camera set up already. And what I want to do is, instead of base group, I want to make this a point thing. And let's go keep in bounding regions. And instead of bounding box, let's do bounding volume. And what I can do is I'll put down a volume like this. And volume we will do from camera. And just plug in our camera here. And let's do like 5.9. I think we have to give it an initial value of 1 or something, or we won't be able to see it. I'll kind of actually hover over it. So there, now you can see it's basically, our camera is here and this is what it's looking at. So it's basically going to create a group for exactly what my camera sees, which is really cool. And let me come in here. We got to give it like 0.001. You got to give it something here, or else it won't select anything. But it's selecting everything except for what it's seeing. So let's go invert. That's cool. So now if I look through my camera, you should only see yellow points. But as soon as I pull out of it, you can see all these other points are not in the group. So let's not invert it, because I do actually want to keep these ones. I'm going to delete the rest. And we can sort of adjust this a little bit. I want this to kind of be pushed outward. I don't want it to be exactly where the camera's at. I want to be a little bit wider than that. And we can adjust that here with this uniform sampling divisions. We can make this more of a coarse mesh. Like, I think give it like 4 is good. Cool. And then we'll just put down a delete afterwards. And we want to delete points. And we want to delete the group Del. There. So now we just went from having 2 million points to 1.5 million points. And maybe we do, if we bring this up to 5, let's see, make it a little 4. So now we have 1.2 million. Cool. So now we're only seeing points exactly where the camera is. You don't need all these other points where there is no outside of the camera. So what we can do now is increase this quite a bit. Let's go 3 million. And it'll kind of concentrate them all here, because we're just deleting the ones that we had. So let's we're deleting the ones outside of our view. Let's turn that back on. We have nothing. Nothing at all. Ah, yes, that would be because we did not put the flag at the end. So the cool thing is this is rendering pretty quickly. I mean, we have 3 million instances in here. They're animated, and it's popping up like immediately. And I think for the example that I showed at the beginning and at the other one, there were a lot more variety of flowers in here. I think I made like 6 different varieties of flowers and grasses and just kind of varied their heights and everything. I think that might be a good idea to do just to give it some more variation. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at these 2. I mean, you guys can do that on your own. Just now that you know how I made these flowers, just go in and copy everything and just change some numbers. So, but this is all like responsive. Look at that. I may have 3 million animated instances, and this is like the light is moving the way I want it to. Pretty cool. Okay. And maybe I want to back my camera out a little bit or something like that. But, okay, so with the camera, let's maybe do some work here, make it look a little better so I can, let's go to color correction, let's go tone mapping. I want to get rid of these highlights so they're not so blown out like that. And then, I don't know, find a nice, I just kind of play around till you get something that looks nice there. But I still feel like this looks too sparse. I want these to be like really, really in there. Yeah, these are way too sparse. Let's give it more. Let's try even more. Let's try 4,000, 400,000. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just okay. Let's try that. Started to look better. Okay. Cool. Maybe I make them a little bit bigger. So let's go to the instance flowers and let's go to attribute randomize and let's make the P scale 1.2. That will keep the ratio of like the big to large flowers the same, but it'll just kind of increase everything. That's looking a little better. Let's change this. Let's just zero this out. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. I think maybe it's just my lighting just kind of needs a little bit of work to find it. It's maybe overlit a little bit. Make it a little bit more dramatic so you actually can see some shadows or something. I don't know. Let's go to a different frame. See what that looks like. And maybe I want to back my camera out a little bit even. So let's turn off these instance flowers here per sec. Let's go to our camera. I think this is maybe too close. Let's just pull it out a little bit like that. So we get a little bit more. And let's see what that does. See if that helps. Let's look a little better. And play with the lighting a little bit. Oh, wait. Yeah. That's looking better. I want that sort of like rim lighting a little bit. And then it's dark back here. Let's give it a background. Let's just put down a grid like this. And let's come out of our camera. Let's just turn this perpendicular like so. That helps. And get it out of here like that. Move it off to the right so that it makes sure you block everything. And then this RS light dome, I don't want it to be affecting this at all. You can see that it's kind of gray back here. I don't want this to be affecting it. So let's go objects, enable light mesh associations, and we'll copy grid 1, come up here and go little caret and grid 1, and then little caret and grid 1. So now It should go back to being dark. Let's do UV project on here. Give it some UVs. And then we will give it a material as well. Let's go render /matte/EG, which is a material that does not exist yet. So we have to make one. So let's go RS material, builder, name it the same thing, and it'll appear on there. Oh, damn it. And now that we have a UVs on it, we can use a ramp in its color and its emission. And let's turn the emission up to 1. And maybe we need to restart this here. That's better. And we can change this ramp color. Let's make it like something colorful and fun. You know, I like colors. Fun, colorful stuff. Maybe kind of like that. And make the bottom. Oh, let's maybe change this from vertical to horizontal. Yeah. Something like this. And we'll make this one be more like a purple. Or maybe a yellow. That's kind of cool. Green. That's or yellowy green. Make it like this. So now if you look in the lower right-hand corner, we have this blue. I kind of have this yellowy there, and it's unaffected by our lights. So that helps to kind of light the scene up a little bit. But these still feel pretty dark for some reason. Let's try in the shiny material. I think if you have a material on a Redshift proxy, I think you could change stuff on it. Let's try. Let's do subsurface scatter. Let's do or change the metalness. Interesting. So that's just changing the balloon, it looks like. So I think if you wanted to change the material in the proxies, you would have to recache your proxy, which is unfortunate. But that's kind of cool. Put this into the MS subsurface color. It's kind of cool. So it's like a subsurface material. It's like a see-through balloon that's kind of metallic. I like that. That's kind of cool. But then these flowers are still really dark. So if I wanted them to respect that, I would have to recache them, which maybe I'll do. But for now, I really like... All right, come on, light. I can maybe even add in an RS light. Just add in our own little key light here. Let's just make this a little smaller. So we can see what we're doing. Grab our RS light. I like these to be brighter and happier, basically, but still have some nice form and shape. Let's do something like this. I don't know, kind of put it off to the side or on the back so that it kind of catches some of the rim. Feels a little better. Maybe play with my dome light. I don't know. But play around with it. But basically, that's all I did. I think in my final one, I really just had a lot more instances. And then I had like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different varieties of flowers on there. So let me try putting more flowers. Ah, I figured it out, guys. I'm a fucking idiot, like always. So in my attribute adjust integers here, I had this max value up to 9. I must have accidentally pushed 9 at some point. So what it was trying to do is trying to copy 9 instances when there are only, or 9 variants when there are only 2. So basically that means that since there's only 2, there's going to be 7 empty slots. There's only like, for every 9 dots, or for every 9 points, only 2 of them actually have something on them. So I just changed this back to 1, and now we suddenly have a lot more density of flowers. That's looking way better. It was looking way too sparse before. I was wondering why it looked too sparse. And then I think I just came in here, I adjusted the scale of this guy, of this flower down to 0.6. But let me try maybe put that up to, back up to 1 again. And then I think I have way too many flowers at this point, actually. Let's change this back down to like 3 million. I think I put it up to 4 million. But that was it. That was my problem. This is looking a lot better. I thought the lighting was looking shitty or something, but I needed more flowers, and that was the problem. So let's come back up here. Let's change this to, instead of 6 million, let's go back down to 3 million. But that's pretty cool though, right? Like we have 6 million animated instances, and it's running pretty quickly. That's the power of Redshift proxies. You can't really do that with Alembics or even just regular Redshift instances. Well, I guess you can do it with regular Redshift instances, but they're not animated. So if you want them to actually be animated models like this, you have to use a proxy. And that is the way you do it. So let's just fire this up one last time, and then I'll do kind of a quick recap of what we learned. There, that's looking a lot better. So cool. That's pretty much it for this lesson. So you can try this out. I mean, you can do this with any model. It doesn't have to be, flowers. It could be whatever you want. And something like, check this out. Let me just, sometimes it's easier to visualize or debug things without having all this crazy geometry here. So something I did before, when I was building this lesson, I was having trouble seeing what was actually happening. So I put down an add. Let's just do this really quick so you can show you guys kind of how to debug this kind of thing at a very simple level. Let's do an add, and let's do a copy transform. And let's just go like this. And let's put down like 6. So now we just have a line of points. Okay. And then we're going to do a mops fall off. Mops shape fall off. Like this. Let's turn it sideways. Preview fall off. Make it like this. So now we have, let me turn off this grid so you can actually see. We've got 0 on this side, 1 on this side. Let's make it a little bigger. Like that. Okay. And then the same thing, let's just, let's take one of these guys here, and we'll do a copy to points. And let me just turn this on so you can see mesh. Copy to points. So geometry to copy is that. Bam. Okay. And the transform. Just like that. Okay. So now they're all, the same. But how do I tell that this mops remap fall off thing is working? Well, let's grab these. Come on. So let's put this in. Oops. Put this one in here, and as we want it to be, let's just start from scratch actually, because I don't want to confuse you. So we have this mops fall off. It's called mops fall off, and we want to do a mops remap fall off, and we want a mops what is it called? Mops set sequence time. Set sequence time. So plug that there, and the set sequence time, we want to use attribute, which is default to mops fall off, but you can change that to whatever you want it to be, like we did before. Let's go set cycling mode, override frame range 240. Okay. And then again, we have to change this so that the output max is 240. It's because right now a mops fall off goes from 0 to 1, and we need to make it go from 0 to 240. So, okay, cool. But that's how, is that working? Let's see. Let's just fire this up. Let me turn this on. Come to our camera. Let me just mess up our camera here so we can see. But yes, you can see that it is working. Look at that. And the cool thing is, it responds to an animated fall off. So if I take this fall off and I grab it and I move it, look at that. That's pretty cool. Now that's weird. Why are they coming back though? I want them where it's 0, it should be 0. That is very strange. So, yes, because we don't have a frame 0. Okay, so look at that. I was about to quit this lesson and move on, but I think I just solved the problem here because we didn't do that over here. So if I come over here, change this to manual, under the maps remap fall off, yeah, we're gonna need to change this to 1 or else it's gonna do that on our balloon thing. So this is a great way to, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is a really good way to debug things quickly at a small scale just to see if things are working before you have like 10 million copies on moving geometry. But it's great because you can just, you can see that very clearly it is working. Nice. Very cool. Okay, so that's how you retime mops, or sorry, how you retime Redshift proxies. I hope that you guys learned something. I hope this wasn't confusing, or hope it wasn't too confusing. And yeah, now you can just kind of like play around with making flowers or scattering whatever animated instances you want across this looping balloon thing and just kind of set up some cool lighting and render it. That's really all I did. I just have this basic kind of shiny material on here. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments.